Hello friends, this is Karen from Blue Rooster Farm, and today we're in the kitchen, and today we are making a frozen dessert, an ice cream dessert. It is called banana split dessert. If you love ice cream or banana splits, you're going to love this. This dessert is one that has been given to me from my mother-in-law, Karen, and that's the name Karen, only it's pronounced Karen because it's the Norwegian pronunciation. So we had two Karen and Karens in our family. But Karen, like I said in another video, was a wonderful baker. She loved to bake and she loved to cook. She was given this recipe. It was from her sister-in-law. And her sister-in-law, Mary Lou, was a wonderful cook. My mother-in-law always talked about what wonderful foods came out of her kitchen. And she has shared several of her recipes, and we'll be making a couple more in the future. But this, and many of her recipes weren't recipes that you would see too often. So this one is one that it's hard to find. I did find a copy of one very similar, but it's a really good recipe, and I think you're going to enjoy it. It is banana split dessert. And in order to make this, you're going to need ice cream. You're going to need graham crackers. You're going to need a hot fudge sauce. I'm going to make a hot fudge sauce from scratch. You are also going to need bananas and whipped topping and nuts if you like nuts. So let's see how it's done. I have got my 9x13 pan, and I'm going to bring you down here so you can see me making it. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to be taking graham cracker crumbs. Now the recipe calls for about, let me look and see here. It is 2 cups of crushed up graham crackers, and I've put mine in my Ninja blender and just mixed it pretty fine. If you like more, you can add more. If you like less, you can add less. We're going to take this and we're going to sprinkle it on the bottom of our dessert. Now this will make a 9x13 pan, and I've got a little more ice cream, and so I'll probably make mine a little bigger, but you will find that you can adjust yours accordingly. I'll give you the single recipe directions, but I will be adding a little more to mine. I've got a taller 9x13 inch dish. So normally you would use half of this, and so I'm going to go ahead and use about half. And I think 2 cups is about 2 sleeves. I think that's about 2 sleeves. All right. So we've got our graham cracker. We're not going to add any butter or anything here. Then we're going to take bananas that we sliced up, and it calls for about 3 bananas, but it all depends on how big your bananas are. Mine were pretty good size, but I still took 3 of them. I think I've seen 2 to 3 maybe on her recipe. Let me see. Yeah, her recipe called for 2 to 3 bananas. I went ahead and did 3 since I knew that this was going to be a pretty big bowl, I guess a casserole dish that I could add more. Now I cut them fairly thin because when bananas are frozen, they're pretty hard. So it makes it a little easier for them to soften up enough to eat it easily. So I'm just doing a nice thick layer. Again, if you're not a banana person, you don't have to add the bananas, but then it wouldn't be really a banana split dessert, but it still would be a wonderful, like a sundae, fudge sundae dessert. You know, there's a lot of options you could change on this. It would make something different, but it would make something really good. You know, if you had Oreo crumbs, you could really easily put Oreo crumbs in here to make and leave off the bananas, and you could have like a hot fudge sundae dessert. That would be really good. But since we're calling this our banana split dessert, we got bananas in it. And I'm really going to just put these over pretty thickly. Now you could do more than one layer. You could do your ice cream and then put another layer. In fact, I might do that because I've got quite a few here. So make sure I've got all those spaces filled. So that's layered with bananas. I'm going to wash my hands and then we'll get the ice cream. All right, so I've just got a big container of vanilla ice cream. You can use any kind of ice cream you want. We're going to use vanilla. It makes it really good. And I have had this out on the counter for just a little bit to soften it up. So I'm going to kind of take slices across the top and lay it, whoops, on my banana layer. Now, normally you could use a gallon of ice cream, but since I've got this big one, I will probably use a little more. And my casserole dish is pretty deep, so I can make mine a little bit bigger. You know, and you can make this a smaller recipe if, you know, if it was just you and you wanted to make a 9x9 pan. You just adjust your ingredients. Really easy to do. I'm trying to get that melted stuff so that it goes down into the bananas and to the graham crackers, because we want those graham crackers to get a little bit of that melted ice cream to get them to kind of soften up and stick together. If you had a graham cracker pie crust, you could do it in that. That would be great. You could make yourself a banana split ice cream pie. Okay, so I have here, if you had a quart of ice cream, you would have one layer, and you can smooth it out a little bit. It's not quite a quart. Or not quite, a half a gallon. I'm sorry, a half a gallon. Okay, so that would be like a half a gallon of ice cream there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put a layer of nuts. Now at this point, if you were just doing a half a gallon, you would put this in the freezer after this. But since I'm going to do another layer, I have extra bananas and extra ice cream. I'm going to do another layer. So I'm going to do another layer, and I also had extra graham crackers. I'm going to do another thin layer of graham crackers. And then I'm going to do a layer of bananas. Now I am not going to add my next layer of ice cream because I'm going to be putting hot fudge on it for this next layer. Remember, if you are making this, you would just stop at the nuts and put it in the freezer. And then when you pull it out of the freezer, you would be putting the hot fudge sauce on it. Okay. So, and then there'll be the whipped topping and then the rest of the graham crackers. But since I'm going to put another thin layer on here, I'm going to put it in the freezer at this point. And when I come back, I will put another layer. We'll put hot fudge on it. And then I will put another layer of ice cream and do another layer just like I just did. So I'll bring you back when this is frozen and my hot fudge sauce that we're going to make is cooled. So we'll do the hot fudge sauce next. To make the hot fudge sauce that goes on the ice cream, we are going to start with half a cup of butter, which is 1 stick. Get my heat set up there. And we're doing it on this so that you can see it better. Okay. To the butter, we are adding 1.5 cups of evaporated milk, not sweetened condensed milk, evaporated milk, and that is the same as 12 fluid ounces. So if you buy the 12 fluid ounce can, that will be the same. And we're just heating this up together, melting the butter. You want to stir it so that it does not burn on the bottom. Okay, once the butter is melted, we're going to add 1 cup of chocolate chips. And I have mixed semi-sweet and dark chocolate together. You can add whatever kind you like. And it was 1 cup. I do 1 cup in there. And these chips are going to melt in this nice warm milk. Again, we're going to keep stirring so not to let it scorch. Keep your heat on a medium-low so that you're not overheating the bottom. This is a heavy-bottomed enamel iron skillet, so that helps. If it were a thin one, it would have a likelihood to quickly burn. So whatever you're using, just make sure you're careful not to let it burn. Okay, while this is melting, we're going to go ahead and add 2 cups of powdered sugar. And I've got a 1/2 cup measuring cup, so I'll add 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was 2 cups. Now, if you have lumpy powdered sugar, feel free to sift it, but this looks like it dissolved really easily. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit more because I'm going to be stirring constantly here now, is we are going to cook this until it becomes thickened. The fudge sauce has just started boiling. You can tell it has thickened up. It will thicken up more as it cools down as well, but I'm just going to let this boil for about a minute just to make sure everything is good. Yeah, it's getting nice and thick. Okay, and while this is finishing boiling, I'm going to add a pinch of salt because the recipe doesn't call for it. My butter was unsalted, and I like to have just a little bit of salt in my chocolate stuff. I think that brings the flavor out. And then we're going to go ahead and add a teaspoon of vanilla. That might have been a little more, but that's okay. I'll just boil that here, and then we'll take it off and let it cool. Now this makes a lot of fudge sauce, so if you have stuff left over, it's a great topping for ice cream, and you can put it in a little container and put it in your refrigerator and just warm it up in the microwave before you top it on your ice cream. All right, that looks good. We're going to turn it off and let it cool. We are back with our ice cream. I just took it out of the freezer, and I'm going to turn you down here and let you see what we've got. Now, if you'll remember, yours, if you had done the regular, followed the recipe, you wouldn't have the bananas on top. You would have used them all on the bottom, unless you want them on top, whatever you like. And at this stage, our hot fudge sauce is cooled off. This is firmed up a little bit, and so we're ready to put fudge sauce on. So if you want to see how our fudge sauce looks, hope that's showing up somewhat. Nice and thick, shiny, pretty, tastes delicious. Okay, we are going to put a layer of that on top of this. And I'm just using the spatula. I'm sure a large spoon would probably work a little better, but why dirty another utensil? Now, if you were doing this and not putting the next layer, you would want to spread this all out, and we could do that. But since I'm going to do another layer, I don't need to have it completely covered, okay? So I'm going to put just a little more ice cream on top because we have extra ice cream, and this is a tall casserole pan. Most of them aren't as tall as this one. It is tall. And like I said, this will last in the freezer for a long time. So anytime you can jazz up some plain old vanilla ice cream, I say go for it. That's looking good. And like I said, this is a recipe that my mother-in-law shared with me that she got from her sister-in-law, my husband's aunt, Aunt Mary Lou. And from everything I've heard about her, she was just a wonderful, wonderful person. Very, very kind. Great cook. My mother-in-law she would just talk about how wonderful of a cook she was. She died young. Her children were still young kids when she passed away. And I'm wondering if Wendy and Holly and Mark all know of this recipe, if they also enjoy it. If not, I hope they watch it and hear all the great things that were said about their mother. And like I said, there are a few other recipes that my mother-in-law Karen shared with me that came from Aunt Mary Lou. All right, I just about got the whole pail. Still got just a little bit, but I'm not going to overdo it here because I still have some whipped topping to go. All right, so now I'm going to put the last layer of chocolate. Now, when you serve this, you're going to want to take it out of the freezer just a little bit early to have it soften up, because it will, especially if you have a really cold freezer, it will harden up a lot and be kind of tricky to cut and serve, especially with those bananas. Like I said, they get rock hard. But you eat it when it's frozen, but you might want to just take it out just a little bit early to let it get a little soft so that you can serve it a little easier. All right, make a mess there. Okay, so I was gonna keep a little bit out of this chocolate sauce, but we are just about using it up. I might as well use it up. It will be exceptionally good with a little extra. And this one can be cut into smaller pieces since it's deeper. Let's just finish all that fudge sauce up. Normally we have some left over, and I put it in a container in the fridge. And then we just take it out when we want some extra, or if you want to put a little extra drizzle on top of this when you serve it. Okay. Let me wash my hands. At this point, we're going to add the final layer of graham crackers. And you could have added the graham crackers before on the ice cream. It doesn't matter. Okay. And when that hot fudge sauce touches the ice cream, it does get nice and thick. Okay. Now for the last ingredient. I'm going to clean my edges off since I'm going to be covering this and putting it in the freezer. We have some homemade whipped cream. You can use Cool Whip if you like, that's fine. But we like the real stuff. And I got it pretty thick. I'm just going to glop it on there and then I'll smooth it out with a knife. few sprinkles of nuts left. Okay, that looks good. And just to make it extra special, we're going to go ahead and stick some cherries on it, and we're going to push them down. Okay, there is your dessert, courtesy of Aunt Mary Lou. It is a delicious recipe that your family will love. Enjoy. Once again, the recipe will be at the end of this video. You can screenshot it. Please like, share, and subscribe to my station if you like what you see. Have a great week, friends. Bye-bye.